Superior nutrition strategies. Things change as we get older, and remaining fit and healthy requires greater premeditation. You just can't wing it anymore. Just look around. Most have already given up and started their descent, but you're different. And that's why you're listening. As seniors, it's both a matter of discipline and navigating our reduced physical capacity. I wanted to share a few ideas in that regard so that you might keep fighting the good fight against the inexorable crush of age. Higher protein consumption alone slows age-related loss of muscle known as sarcopenia. Natural sources of meat, fish, eggs, chicken are just fine if you can consume them in sufficient quantity. But we can't always just pound them down as we once did. It's not just the reduced appetite. It's sometimes the discomfort that often occurs with protein supplements. It may be that supplemental protein causes too much stomach upset to be a regular alternative. But if you're getting at least 70% of your body weight, like 140 grams for a 200-pound person, that's a great hedge against muscle loss. More protein won't hurt you, and it's pretty tough to overeat. For many, grabbing a shake is more convenient, and to minimize the chance of stomach upset, consider having it in the morning when your digestive system is fresh and rested, to minimize the risk. That's about the only time I can safely pound one down, and even then, if I go over 30 grams, I take a little risk of stomach upset and a reduced appetite. Okay, so when selecting protein supplements, stay away from all pre-made cookies, drinks, chips, and bars and all those things. They're all inferior protein sources, and they all include sweeteners, which often spike insulin. So even when it comes to the best source, which is whey or casein protein, stay away from something called maltodextrin. This is one of several sugar alcohols, which are sweet to the taste, but cannot be physically digested. Right? So it's going to be arguing with your intestines. In addition to the upset and gas, it spikes insulin. One last thing. You have to hit 25 grams a serving to ring the bell and trigger proper synthesis. For instance, one egg white is 6 grams of protein. It'll be largely ignored alone. So 4 or more, please. All right, recent studies show that a huge amount of protein will stay with you and digest. So yes, you can go well over 50 grams in any one serving and trust it to get used. Massive research has gone into creatine, and for good reason. It's conclusive that boosting this naturally occurring substance enhances your metabolism. The average dose is around 5 grams a day, and with that you can expect greater muscle strength and size while you're doing resistance exercise. It also gives you a cushion should you miss a bit of sleep or have some kind of mild stress. However, doubling your intake is where creatine shines for we seniors. Improvements in cognition and memory are reported at 10 to 12 grams per day. So when sleep deprived, you can take a huge dose and actually negate any cognitive impairment from a lost night's sleep. And I'm talking about 20 grams. So it has to be digestible. The muscles are first in line when it comes to creatine, and they're going to grab the first 5 grams. But once packed, the additional is available to your brain. Go with creatine monohydrate. It's cheap and it's the best. So above 5 grams at a time, for me, I encounter a bit of intestinal discomfort and a diminished appetite. Same thing I get when I go over 30 grams of protein. So it's just too much strain on my almost 67-year-old digestive system. So I break it into a morning and afternoon dose of around 5 to 7 grams, and that gets the job done with almost no risk. As opposed to protein supplements, you really can't get an alternative to a natural dose of creatine without eating a room full of meat. And given the plethora of benefits and the inability to substitute it in your diet, give it priority if it comes down to protein or creatine. Go with the creatine. Okay, so these supplements are the easiest thing to adjust, so let's dig into your overall diet. 1, I want you to start your day with protein, and this has several benefits. First, it sends a signal to your system that protein is important, to focus on it, and that aids in the absorption. As we age, absorption becomes an issue. Of course, in our youth, we easily synthesize 95 or 100% of the protein we consume, but as we age, the cells of our well-used digestive system lose their ability to do the hard work of breaking down protein, getting it where it belongs. That means we need to compensate for the friction by consuming more. And the damnable thing is, the corollary for carbohydrates is the reciprocal. As protein presents more of a challenge, carbs quickly take their place. Given the choice of wrestling with proteins or dancing with carbs, your body will progressively lean toward the easy assimilation of carbohydrates, compounding the challenge of watching your weight, which leads to the harsh reality of necessarily restricting your carbs more each year. Right? As children with bright, fresh mitochondria, we equally process proteins and carbs. As we age, that balance steadily shifts, and so do the sands of time on most of our bodies. We may keep a fixed ratio of protein to carbs, but as we age, those carbs stick and the protein is less absorbable. The idea that we somehow need things like bread, rice, potatoes, or pasta is silly. When you eat them, at least follow a simple rule. Protein first, and then carbs a few minutes later. This does not change the caloric or absorptive properties, but rather blunts the insulin response provoked by the carbs alone. And remember that it's the response to certain foods that enhances or diminishes your system. Keeping insulin levels low is extremely beneficial as we age, and that means premeditating all the foods you consume and even the order in which it's consumed. Processed foods necessarily reduce or remove fiber. Only our intestines are designed to extract nutrients from fiber. Without that essential function, they are not happy. Part of keeping them happy means using fiber as a cleaning agent for your colon. All colon cancers come from polyps, so keeping them at bay is key. Then too, high fiber diets mimic some of the benefits gained from regular fasting and can make your bathroom visits much more pleasant. I find psyllium fiber useless. Rather, I like something like Post's Fiber One cereal after lunch and dinner as my dessert. It's easy and a tasty way to get my 25 to 50 gram teen daily. Finally, speaking of timing, don't eat too late. We continue to pump out the fountain of middle age known as growth hormone in the first 100 minutes of sleep. However, food in the gut will nix that. So stop eating 2 hours before you hit the rack. Every molecule of growth hormone is precious, revitalizing, and diminishing each year. Protect it. Okay, to recap, if protein shakes are a digestive challenge, try taking a small one in the morning. But if you're regularly getting plenty of natural protein, say 70% of your body weight in grams, don't sweat it. More is better. Protein in the gut prevents hunger pangs preemptively, if you can plan it during the day to avoid the compulsion to reach for carbs when hungry, as we all do. Creatine is magnificent, and if you can only tolerate one powder supplement between protein or creatine, make it creatine. 5 grams minimum, and if you can do 15, beautiful. As you age, protein should be an ever larger percent of your daily calories. Protein and carbs are equally caloric per gram, but as we age, carbs are much easier to process. That means you have to overdo the protein and underdo the carbs just to break even. Then too, carbs trigger insulin, and that protects fat from being consumed. When eating carbs, have them a few minutes after your protein every time, and never, ever have carbs alone. As opposed to nature, we must go out of our way to cleanse our intestines with fiber daily. And to preserve your youth, make sure you sleep on a relatively empty stomach, as your growth hormone release will pass you by otherwise. Now, all these tips require a change in your relationship with food. They are far from draconian and will quickly become second nature. Get serious about what and when you eat, and stay fresh well into your 8th decade. Go get 'em, Tiger.